Hi, can you please tell me your name and what state you're from?
My name is Kelly Edwards. I'm currently in California, but the subject property is in Hawaii.
Did you have more than one foreclosure or foreclosures on more than one property or more than one foreclosure on the same property?
More than one foreclosure on the same property.
And when did these foreclosures start and what was the outcome, or is it currently open?
It's currently ongoing. It started in 2008. There were two attempted non-judicial foreclosures. And then as of January 30th, 2015, a judicial foreclosure was filed.
Is Hawaii is it one of those states that has judicial and non-judicial foreclosures?
Hawaii had non-judicial, and then in 2000, I believe 10, they changed to where foreclosures had to be judicial. They changed their statutes.
Thank you. Homeowners in non-judicial states often find it difficult to defend against foreclosures in court. Did you experience that?
Yes.
Forged and facially invalid assignments and endorsements have been filed and used as a basis to foreclose in millions of cases. Please describe any that you or any expert investigator or witness found in your case.
I have 3 fraudulent assignments of mortgage in my case. And my case involves the filing. The initial filing was in the name of a non-existent entity.
What was the name of that?
It is U.S. Bank as trustee for Credit Suisse First Boston, MBS ARMT 2005-2.
Were any of your documents signed by a known robo-signer or someone who had no authority to sign, or did you get any expert witness or testimony to the effect of that these were forged or robo-signed?
I I I've found information about a known robo-signer, but more significantly, I have certification from 3 government entities that the entity never existed.
Can you explain a little bit? That ties into my next question, which is that entities foreclosing are representing themselves to be trustees for trusts, yet often homeowners find these trusts do not exist or have no capacity to demand foreclosure.
That's correct. In my case, the trust, which I just gave you the name of, has never existed. So I got curious because I couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't showing up on the Securities and Exchange Commission website. So when the foreclosure initially started back in 2015, I around 2016, I was baffled. So I started investigating. And I eventually reached out to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they gave me written certification that there was no such entity at any time. And I also reached out and got certification from the Department of Corporations, from the Secretaries of State for Delaware and New York, that there was and is no such entity.
Did you ever get discovery in your case?
I did.
Was there any evidence that they were able to bring forward showing that they were owed the debt?
No.
Did you experience any due process violations in your case that you are aware of?
Lots. Right now, I'm actually, funny you should mention that. I have 2 current appeals that I'm in, and one is a revocation of my jury trial demand, which I've paid for. So now that we're heading towards trial, the judge has just sua sponte revoked my jury trial. Like I said, I paid for it back in 2020, and she says, no, we're going to do a bench trial. So I'm appealing that, as well as a new theory that they're now changing in an effort to foreclose on my property without a promissory note.
Did you experience not being able to find an attorney, or were any of the attorneys you turned to for help disbarred?
I know of a few that have been disbarred. It's definitely in Hawaii. It's a real problem. They are definitely targeted. Um, I've spoken to many. I have not retained counsel. I've been pro se, but I have reached out to several attorneys and definitely given my support as well for those attorneys. And I think it's just terrible what's happening, and it's just wrong at every level. And anything I can do to help them, I would love to. And actually, kind of on the other side note, I am doing things to hopefully help in that. But I can't really talk about it because it is confidential at this point. But that is an issue, and the press needs to be alerted to that.
Did you learn about any conflicting interests that the judge in your case might have that they did not report?
Yes, that's another issue that is very, very, well, you're really good. So I have uncovered that the Hawaii, all state judges in Hawaii, and I have reached out to their pension fund, which is called the Hawaii ERS, Employee Retirement System. It's a fund, and it's the custodian is Bank of New York Mellon, and they handle the funds for the mortgage-backed securities and asset-backed securities that are part of this big multi-billion-dollar fund. And what's happened is every state judge, which is all the circuit court judges, the intermediate, the ICA, Intermediate Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court, are required to be participants in that fund. It's not an option, they are required. I have confirmed that. I have written to the ERS myself. They must pay, and what happens is if there is a shortfall in the amount of money, that part of the fund is not protected. So if there's a shortfall, what happens is the participants, which also includes firefighters, police officers, any state employees, they have to come out of pocket and pay any shortfall. So what I believe is happening is the courts, it's rule for the bank, because if you rule for the bank, you're protecting your pension. You know, as long as the banks are winning, you're good, and you're not going to have to come out of pocket, and you're going to have a nice, robust retirement. So there is definitely a conflict of interest in Hawaii, and it's a problem. And I've brought it up to the court.
What has been your experience in joining any class actions or multi-plaintiff actions for homeowners?
I haven't tried to get involved in any class actions. I've spoken to other pro se, homeowners that are trying to fight, but I have not, we haven't gotten together and tried to do any class action. I know there are some going on in Hawaii. I did reach out to an attorney who does a lot of them. He could not take on my case because of a conflict of interest. He has an attorney who I believe used to work for the court that my case was in at the same time as all this started. So anyway, that's as far as I've gotten on that.
Okay. What has been your experience with reaching out to government programs or agencies such as the HAMP program, the Homeowners Assistance Fund, the CFPB, legal aid organizations, or any government officials or agencies?
I have reached out to the Legal Aid Society. I've also reached out to the ACLU regarding a few different violations of my constitutional right, including my revocation of my jury trial. Basically, it falls on deaf ears. They're all overburdened. Send an email and we read them all, but who knows if we'll be able to get back to you, kind of thing. So there's not a lot of support in Hawaii. I don't know how people get support if they do at all. There are very few foreclosure defense attorneys, and the ones that are willing to fight are targeted. They're really targeted by the foreclosure mill attorneys.
Did you ever attempt to contact the FBI or state attorney general, your attorney general, or any?
I have not, but I was recently given names and information on where to go to, and I have received press information on. There's a lot of corruption going on in Hawaii right now, And my understanding is they're really adamant about wanting people to come forward with stories, not just about foreclosure, but just stories about any type of corruption, because it is so rampant right now in Hawaii, and that's at every level, even the government level. So they are advocating for people to come forward. So this story is very important so that I can have a clean, clear, concise story to present. And that's been one of my biggest burdens and hurdles is I haven't had something I can actually go and present because my situation is very long and involved, and I'm always seem to be having to present something to the court and write something. And like I said, I'm pro se, so my time is pretty much limited.
Thank you.